After approximately 47 years of the Rick Stockstill era at Middle Tennessee, we have a new head coach of the Blue Raiders football program, and it's a familiar name. Former Vanderbilt head coach Derek Mason, who is also defensive coordinator at Stanford, defensive coordinator at Oklahoma State, defensive coordinator at Auburn as well. He will be the new head coach at Middle Tennessee. Also, former BYU and Virginia head coach Bronco Mendenhall has agreed to be the new head coach at New Mexico. Before we get to the high-profile coordinator hire here, Danny, which of these two, Derek Mason to Middle or Bronco to New Mexico, stand out the most to you or spark some kind of intrigue?
I think they're both interesting. They're both kind of similar, right? Guys that have had, top tier experience, SEC, ACC, but also experience at schools where it's a little bit harder to win and have had to be more developmental programs, which is what I would describe. I'd say Middle Tennessee is a better job. Shout out to Jordan, who's not here, but I do think it's better regionally, where it is. New Mexico, you guys remember this. I called a game a couple years ago, and it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. The facilities aren't great. The history is not great. But I do think, Bronco Mendenhall have an experience there where he coached Brian Urlacher. He's familiar with that territory. I think they're both kind of solid hires. I think you get big names. Maybe that's what you need to infuse some life into ticket sales, into maybe, I don't know what their NIL market's like, but I don't think it's great, but maybe that helps to get some name recognition that'll excite a fan base. So I think they're both like solid hires. C+, right?
Hey, listen, this is the Jerry Kill effect. Right?
Yeah. That's a great point. Boy,
we see what he was able to do at New Mexico State, and then all these other programs. Like, okay, I mean, could you imagine what that New Mexico State game is going to look like? Jerry Kill against Bronco Mendenhall. This awesome coaching matchup. And I think Derek Mason at Middle Tennessee's the same thing. Just you are getting, instead of trying to be a spot where a coach on the rise is going to have to use limited resources to just make it work. You are getting experience, and you're getting someone who's probably not going to look to hop, somebody who's going to invest several years into trying to really be able to build. I love for ESPN's David Hale mentioned that in terms of land and places to ride your bike, Broncos, a great fit at New Mexico. I mean, we heard about how he had to move a whole farm from Provo to Charlottesville. I don't know what kind of land he's getting, but I'm sure that he's going to enjoy all the outdoors time around there. And then Derek Mason, you do have at least the familiarity with the state from his time at Vanderbilt as well. So I'm calling this one the Jerry Kill effect.
Great point. It's just human nature, I guess. We've seen these cycles take place before. Remember when Sean McVay was in the NFL, all of a sudden it was the McVay tree was the hottest thing, and it lands Cliff Kingsbury a job after Texas Tech where he can't even go 500. And they're like, well, he knows them. Let's go. That was the tie. I think it's just human nature to look other ways and say, man, I mean, even when Dion was promoted, look at all the other former players who were hired at HBCUs, Eddie George, there was a slew of them. It's just human nature to see something work and then say, oh yeah, we can go do it, even though it's zero guarantee that it'll work.
Yeah, I really like the Bronco hire at New Mexico just because, I've been a Bronco stan for years now. I just always enjoy the way his teams play because they're fun and they're also kind of mean and almost dirty, and I kind of appreciate that. So that'll be fun to see him back in New Mexico. I'll enjoy watching those games late at night. The Derek Mason one is interesting. I'll admit one of my first thoughts was because he was at Vandy for 7 years, right? Mm-hmm. It's does he still have a house in the area? I wonder if it think about it. He might still have, so he might have saw that job come open and said, you might think maybe he can wait it out and maybe get a bigger job at some point down the line. But he might be thinking, no, I liked living there for 7 years. I like the area. I've still got a house there. This could work out pretty well for me. So I think that's a very good hire for Middle. I think that Derek, obviously they didn't win a bunch of SEC titles and go bowling every single year. But I think if you look at the overall job he did at Vandy, you could say it was a decent job. And then you could say he's been a very good defensive coordinator. So when you're Middle Tennessee and you're replacing Stockstill, who's been there for 75,000 years, to get somebody who's familiar with the area, who has plenty of head coaching experience, who's been a very good coordinator, I think it's a solid hire. It's the kind of direction you should be going.
I'm actually like pretty excited about both hires. Both these guys are good football coaches, and those are hard jobs to win at. Everybody talks about like the potential of Middle Tennessee, given how close it is, but I don't know. I mean, maybe there's potential, maybe there's not. In that league, the rest of them kind of just have to look around and realize like you're playing for second most of the years. I strongly believe that.
All right. So because in Conference USA, you've got Jamie Chadwell, you've got Jerry Kill, you've got Rich Rodriguez. Now you've got Derek Mason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I really, really like the Mexico State staff. But I do think there's a pretty strong argument that Liberty has the best staff, and there's no argument as to resources. Like Liberty might have more resources than like the next 3 teams combined.
Yeah.
So it's going to look a lot like when Danny was at FSU and they had just joined the ACC. Like, I don't know when Liberty's going to lose its first Conference USA game, but I mean, it may not be for a couple of years.
Is this overreaching? This feels like a February take, but is Tyson Helton? Is this kind of a big year for him? Make sure he doesn't start losing ground fast, because Western Kentucky was rolling, right? Just sort of the class of the conference, stacking division titles, stacking conference titles. They don't end up going with the big exodus to the American Athletic Conference. If you look at pedigree, you would assume, oh, wow, they're going to run this. But boom, in comes Liberty. And now we've got this, what New Mexico State has been. We've got what Jacksonville State was able to do right away. Feels like if you're Western Kentucky, and the toppers are kind of at risk of just kind of fall into the middle of that league unless they're able to really start stringing some success together.
Delaware's coming too. They've been a pretty solid FCS program over the years.
When I watch, I mean, and they play on CBS Sports Network a lot. So like we've seen Western play quite a bit. They felt top heavy to me. Like they were very dependent on a few stars. The safety who made like all the tackles for loss. They had one really good DN who got hurt. He's from Georgia, I know. And then they had Malachi Corley and then Austin Reed.
Mm-hmm.
But like the rest of the roster didn't look all that great to me. So I do wonder if it's a thing where that was not a blip, but sort of a blip where you had all those transfers in. They brought the Houston Baptist squad over. They were really good in 21. They were still damn good in 22. Not quite as good this year. That's tough because other programs may be getting their act together a little more there. But like, what does La Tech do? I guess they're keeping Sonny Cummings.
I would say that Louisiana Tech's another one that you're looking at. Obviously, UTEP is made. UTEP hasn't hired, right?
No, they did. Brian
Vincent, the old UAB interim coach. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a bad hire either.
I think he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do too. He was handed a tough hand and did a really good job with that Blazers program when friend of the Cover 3 podcast, Bill Clark, ended up stepping away for health issues. He got that team to a bowl game. So
less of the like. Do we think we're seeing less of like the lower resource programs go for the shoot the moon hire?
Yes.
Like I'm not seeing a whole lot of like hey, this guy's a great recruiter. Let's see what he can do here type thing. I think we're seeing more like, hey, this guy's proven to be pretty competent. You know, our team is not likely to be a cluster with this guy here.
I would have to imagine that's kind of a reaction of the fact that, we're not really 100% sure what this sport's going to be in 5 years. So I think a lot of programs are trying to play it safe because they don't want to bottom out. They're just trying to get competence.
You do still have Fran Brown just got the Syracuse job. Right.
Mm-hmm.
There are still like GJ Kinney to Texas State. Like you are still having some of those where I think that in both those examples, correct me if I'm wrong, in both those examples, we have pretty significant local ties where you're bringing them and you're also knowing that they're going to be able to tap into, the high school football scene, just sort of overall connections that are going to be able to benefit them in the area.
Are we going to be a Syracuse pod after the Fran Brown intro presser where he came and brought
Girl Dad?
Yeah, exactly. Girl Dads Unite. I'm wearing pink today and everything. Let's go just for him.
So the clip that I saw already had music under it. I need to go to the original press conference so I can lift the audio, and then I need to get in the lab and create a new Yeah, maybe instead of the Dino drop, it's the Fran Brown bomb.
A Brown bomb, yeah.
Yeah, Brown bomb. So it was a good one. I mean, he basically said, I'm gonna be here for 10 years. So, and if he's there for 10 years,
that's a great thing.
Great thing.
He must be crushing it.
Yeah. All right. From the assistant coaching ranks, we've got Kansas State offensive coordinator Collin Klein is on his way to join Mike Elko's staff at Texas A&M. Collin Klein, you will remember, was a candidate for the Notre Dame job last offseason. Former Kansas State great, beloved in all of our hearts from that 2012 season. Mm-hmm. That's all right. Yeah. What's the play here for Klein to Texas A&M? Mike Elko, what was it? Right when the Mike Elko hire is announced, our entire Cover 3 tailgate, love the hire, very interested in his OC. Love the hire, very interested in his OC. A lot of people couched their grade of the Mike Elko hire based on the offensive coordinator hire. Danny, would you say that this is moving along as planned? Strong hire, good early signs for head coach Mike Elko?
Yeah, I like everything about him, everything we've seen, the development he's had there, playing multiple quarterbacks the last couple years. I always love the fact that he played the position. Shouldn't matter, it doesn't matter, but I kind of like it. I think you see his offense almost take off a little bit of a personality the way he played, a little bit more of a running style quarterback. But I think a guy who's young, who probably relates really well to players. I bet he's good on the recruiting trail. And X's and O's, I've liked the innovation he's brought to the offense. And especially you kind of do more with less, right? You don't have the resources that you have at Oklahoma or Texas in the Big 12, and you've been able to maximize it, develop players. I think all of it makes it a really solid hire.
Yeah, Kansas State's skill on paper, you weren't going into the year like, oh man, game changers. And yet you look up at the end of the year, especially after they got through that bumpy little beginning, and found ways to get it done.
You look at the draft, Kansas State's had almost as many skill players make the NFL lately as A&M has. I really like the hire. I base it off of watching Kansas State's offense. I think Kansas State has a fun and enjoyable offense. So even just from that perspective of, if you're a fan of a team, cool, I'm going to watch an offense that's fun. And it's not the style, especially if you're an A&M fan and you've been having to watch Jimbo and his 7,000-page playbook for the last few years, and everything is very slow moving and developing and robotic and blah, blah, blah. This is not that. It's not like up tempo, but it is much more of a free flowing kind of rhythm offense that I think is better suited for today's game and also more enjoyable to watch.
I mean, what do we call Texas A&M? Texas ATM?
Yeah.
Klein has had looks from Penn State and Notre Dame in recent years. So my guess here is that he got a pretty nice bag from A&M. I think he'll do well there. I like the staff that they're putting together there. I think Elko will do a good job at A&M. It doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like they're playing a part. It just seems like they're just going and hire good football coaches who work hard. And
they're not collecting names. They're collecting coaches.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I'm struggling for words today. That's exactly. Man, by the way, Tom has been on a heater lately with takes. We were putting together a surprise episode for y'all. Tom's got a million awesome takes, dude. You've been killing it, especially lately.
Ever since he put his dog in the ground, it's just
that is the price to pay. But Frank, you got to pay.
Oh man,
yeah, you just do it. You kill your dog. It could work for you too. If you're having a bad time at work, your boss is upset at you. You're not getting what you got to get done. Kill your dog. Kill him. You're going to get a promotion. You're going to get a raise. You're going to get everything you ever wanted in life.
We're going to get all kind of flagged from you too.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're going to get banned.
Oh,